All right, and welcome back to the Movie Pope podcast. And today we are shifting gears. Now, normally on the podcast, we like to talk about movies and TV shows, and we like to chat with people who work in the industry, from extras to caterers to indie film directors and actors. But we made a New Year's resolution, and our resolution is, apart from getting more subscribers, is to chat with people who work in all aspects of the arts. So today we have a very special guest, and he is very special indeed. We've got Mr. Dan Hick on the show. He is a singer-songwriter from good old Ontario, Canada. Our first Canadian guest, and he is going to be talking to us about his passion for music, his songwriting process, and if we have some time, maybe talk about his favorite movie. But before we dive in, remember to like, comment, subscribe, and please remember to share this video and other episodes with everyone you know. Please help the audience grow. We would definitely appreciate that. But without further ado, Dan, my man, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you very much for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. Well, the honor's all mine because, like I said, you are the first Canadian guest on the show, and you were the first musician to be a guest on the podcast, and hopefully one of many in many episodes to come. So I just want to go ahead and get started here. Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, and what kind of inspires you?
Sure. Well, my name is Dan Hick, and yeah, I'm a musician. I have been my whole life. Just playing in Southern Ontario, Canada here. I live in Peterborough, just about an hour outside of Toronto, where everybody knows where Toronto is. And so yeah, I moved to Toronto around college and started playing the club scene in Toronto with different bands, and had a blast doing that. And we had some national exposure on the CBC, which is large in Canada, and on Much Music, which was like Canada's MTV pretty much. Back when they used to play videos on those channels, and it was a lot of fun playing live shows around there, and got to play with a lot of different groups and artists. Recorded with Juno Award winners before, who were like that's the Canadian Awards, music awards up here.
That's like the Grammys up there, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the Juno Awards. So yeah, I recorded with some Juno Award winners, of course. So had some minor success as an indie artist, and just recently started really diving back into my music and writing a lot lately. And it's been a great year. 2023 was a fantastic music year for me. I was making a lot of videos and songs, and just putting them through Spotify and on YouTube, where you can find my music. And it's been a great success. It's times have changed. I mean, Spotify has it has its ups and downs for sure. Its negative is definitely that you don't get paid really as an indie artist. I think they pay 0.005 cents per download, so no one's getting rich unless you're downloading hundreds of thousands of songs. But the positive is that it's getting out to a wide range, wide audience, because it was just like 10 years ago, you'd have to spend a lot of money making CDs and try to get them distributed just across Canada. It was hard to do. But now I wake up in the morning and I see, wow, like 20 people from Dublin, Ireland were listening to my one song last night. And then, wow, there was 30 from Australia and New Zealand overnight. And I'm getting these messages from people all over the world, from Spain and the UK, and it's just fantastic. So it's been a great year. And same with my videos, of course, on YouTube. It's all free for everybody, and my music's free. So it's been really positive just to get it out there and know and see the reaction that I've been getting from people about my music and how it's inspiring them, and in a positive way. And it's been a great year.
I mean, I gotta say, 'cause, I mean, first of all, congrats. But I was gonna say that must be exhilarating to know that people from around the world are listening to your material and reacting to it.
Yeah, it most definitely is. Yeah, yeah, like I've almost spit my coffee out some mornings when I look. It's like 300 downloads from like Oslo, Finland, and Norway. Like the Nordic countries really seem to like my music, and yeah, it's amazing. It's fantastic. I'd love to be able to go on tour over there someday.
So
But just to see the feedback, it's incredible.
so I want to circle back a little bit. So what made you decide that being an indie musician was the way to go, because not to mention it's the epicenter of the film and TV industry, because a lot of because a lot of film and TV shows are filmed over there. I know What We Do in the Shadows is filmed over there. I know the most recent season of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, they filmed I think an episode or two in Toronto. What made I mean obviously there's just so many things happening over there. What made you decide that I think I'm going to carve my niche as as an indie musician over there?
Well, it's just a passion of mine, and Toronto was the place to be when I was younger. I mean, that had the club scenes and everything to play, but you kind of get lost in the shuffle in Toronto because there's like well over 5 million people there and tons of bands and that. And I just know coming back to my hometown, Peterborough, it's been fantastic because it's a different culture, and everybody kind of looks after each other and helps each other out, and there's always open jams and people and musicians supporting each other, and it's really helped a lot back in my hometown here. But yeah, Toronto, there's I mean it's a fantastic place. We've seen a lot of great shows and played a lot of great clubs, iconic clubs in Toronto, the El Macambo, the Rivoli, um, which like the Stones have played in these places, and so it was quite eye opening and exhilarating for sure. And yeah, and also with the music or with the movie industry in Toronto, it was fantastic. We met a lot of famous movie stars and seen a lot of sets and I used to actually work for a short time for the CBC, the Canadian Broadcast System, who has been well known for many shows. And I worked in the casting department there for a little while when I was in Toronto, and so that was fun. Um, Working around some big shows. Kids in the Hall was a big one at the time,
Hmm.
comedy show. And yeah, Toronto's always been famous for big comedy shows like Kids in the Hall and SCTV. That was spawned out of Toronto with from Eugene Levy and John Candy and Catherine O'Hara and Rick Moranis and so on and so on. So yeah, we got to meet all those people over time, and yeah, it was a great place to be playing music.
Now, now you did say that you worked for a as a casting director briefly. Can you talk about what that was like,
Yeah,
and what you loved about it, and what made you decide maybe this isn't the path for me?
yeah, it was a fantastic opportunity for me because I was an indie musician at the time, just looking for jobs here and there where I could still stay around the downtown area. And yeah, I ended up slipping into the CBC. It was just a temp job for 4 months, but I was lucky enough to get it. It was working in the with the casting department for the CBC, so they would hold auditions for movies and all the TV shows, and I was the one who would call set up will calls and get in touch with the agents to bring down, um, send out the scripts and have the talent to come down, and we would hold auditions. I would set up the auditions, and then I would be in the room filming the auditions with the directors there as they would be reading the lines back and forth, and I would record all the all the auditions, and it was a quite fascinating process to be able to witness all that. And so unfortunately it was a short amount of time, and after the CBC, yeah, I didn't stick in that business too much longer. It was a lot of shady characters I noticed in a lot of shady businesses with big promises to people and taking a lot of advantage and trying to get money out of people. And it just it was almost like crooked talent agents, a lot of them, and it just wasn't my scene after that. Like CBC was such a stand-up place that I just kind of ditched it and just dove more into my music after that. But it was a fantastic experience.
So you kind of saw what was behind the curtain, and you didn't like it, right?
Yeah, outside of the CBC, I didn't. Yeah, a lot of pop-up kind of agents that claimed to be something that they weren't, and it really turned me off. But the CBC was 100% legitimate and fantastic to work for. Um, yeah, to talk to. They also were in charge of all the musicians and things like that, who soundtracks they had for their shows and stuff like that. So it was great all around.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, 'cause I was gonna say, when you're working in any aspect of the film industry, film and TV industry, you kind of have this idea that it's, fabulous, it's, amazing, it's great. But then when you actually see it, it's like, wow, there's a lot of things I didn't know about that. And it kind of, and it can, rub you the wrong way. And sometimes it can make you decide maybe this isn't really the path I want to go down after all.
Yeah,
So,
sure. And you see it still in music today. Like all the time, I'm getting, 10 offers a day from, this company and that company to do promotions. Just, you know, give us your money and we'll help you this way, and it's so crooked still. Like, and yeah, I saw a lot of that happening. Like, if you put $1,000 in, we'll get you your headshots and we'll do this and that. But they never followed it up with anything much past that. And I just didn't
mhm.
feel right about it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, and I was gonna say because I interviewed a fashion model a few months ago, and she was pretty much telling the same story. So it's one of those things where this is a situation that's happening in every aspect of the arts, not just film or music or acting. It's happening everywhere.
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so as a so you're an indie musician. Are you mainly working as a solo actor, or are you with a band, or are you just like working in a partnership? What's the setup
Yeah.
here?
Yeah, nowadays I'm just a solo artist. I was in bands for years, but just for the past year when I got more serious about it, I've just been doing it on my own because I'm lucky enough to have a studio in my house. But nowadays it's pretty easy to do that on your own. I mean, I just have a laptop and I have all the instruments I need, and I can record a song pretty quickly, and in fantastic quality. And so it's just easy for me as a working husband father um, to be able to lay down tracks anytime I get the time. Because with
Hmm.
the band, I find it hard to get together to find a studio to practice in and get everybody together at certain times and the commitment. But this way, I can just, if I have time between 9 and 10:30 tonight, I'm laying down the bass tracks and possibly a keyboard on top. And then the next night, yeah, if I get an hour here or there, I'll be laying down the vocals and I can get it done at my own time. And it's very free and stress free. That's for sure. And so it's very enjoyable.
So have you played any live gigs
Yeah,
at
I
all?
play. Yeah, I play all the time. I usually play around the Peterborough area. Um, I just played a show a couple weeks ago in my hometown, Peterborough here, and it was fantastic. And I had my son up playing bass with me and also guitar. He played some of his favorite songs as well. So we did some cover songs of Nirvana and Red Hot Chili Peppers. Um, my music's more in the lines of the Beatles, David Bowie, um, type City and Color. I don't know if you know Neil Young type music.
So kind of like
More
folksy
acoustic, more
prog rock kind of
yeah. They
vibe.
call it, yeah. It's called kind of like indie alternative indie rock, but it's like acoustic. Yeah, and
Okay.
so yeah. So I just recently had a girl, grade 10 student here from Peterborough. She's a fantastic guitar player. Uh, she's really into Ozzy and that, and she can just rip guitar like crazy. So I had her up playing one of my songs with me, and we played a couple Black Sabbath songs at the end just for fun. But and it's a lot of fun mentoring the younger generation here too, and trying to help them along because I know every bit helps. And so I've just written a brand new song. I'm just in the process of recording it, and I sent her um, the first rough mix of it so she can get used to it because I want to have her into my studio to lay down some guitar solos over top of it. So I'm really excited about that new song.
So
Um,
can she play licks like Randy Rhodes, or
yeah,
more
she
like Tony
can.
Iommi, or
She most definitely can. Yeah, grade 10, and she's
oh
ripping
my
it.
god.
Yeah, yeah, it's quite impressive. So yeah, so she said to me when we played this last show, I had her up on stage, and in between songs, she was like, "If you want me to come over and lay down a solo on one of your songs, I'd love to do that." And I'm like, "Fantastic," because I just wrote a new song, and I'll leave lots of room for you to lay it down. So it'll be exciting for her because she can be, on Spotify, and we'll make a video and also in Peterborough here, we have an indie rock station, Pet Rock Radio, and they have a top 40 countdown. And so my music's usually on the top 40. So right now, yeah, I have a song that's number 15 on the countdown. and so she'll be on that, no doubt, with this new song. It's going to be a hit for sure. So it's pretty exciting times.
So, because you mentioned it early, do you teach younger people music, or do you just like offer to mentor them? What do you do to kind of help out with the younger kids?
Yeah, I used to teach in my spare time, just songwriting classes. I would go into public schools and teach poetry and songwriting and the process. And but now basically, yeah, I just kind of try to help out the younger kids when I get a chance to ever, if I ever get a chance to have them up on stage with me or anything like that. I like to invite them and bring them along, encourage them, and give them any words of advice I can, and yeah, just encourage them to write music of their own, because they're incredible musicians. I live in a very arts driven town here in Peterborough. A lot of famous acts have come out of our city here. We're only about 80,000 people, but
Hmm.
but Neil Young did grow up in Peterborough here, and we have famous bands like 3 Days Grace is from Peterborough, and so is um, like Serena Ryder's from here. I don't know if you know her in the States, and Metric is a big band. But and Sebastian Bach, who played with the '80s band Skid Row,
Yeah.
he was on the cover of Rolling Stone. So like, we have a huge amount of great musical success in our city, and it's still thriving today. So we try to help each other out as much as we can. And these people are still in touch with Peterborough. They still come back and they still hang out here, and getting messages from these people all the time of words of encouragement. When I
Is
put
that
out a new
right?
song, yeah, when I put out a new song, like I get messages from 3 Days Grace saying, keep it up, like right on, and they tell me about stories that the songs remind them of when they were growing up in Peterborough, and so
See, I
yeah,
did.
it's inspiring.
See, I didn't know that because because back in middle school and high school, I used to listen to 3 Days Grace. I was like, so to learn that they came from the same town as you, that's like
Yes.
mind-boggling, really.
Yeah, yeah, we used to play together in at field festivals and parties and stuff like that back
Oh
in the
my
day.
god.
I was a little older than them, and they were like the high school kids. And man, they just blow you right away. Like they would be playing songs like cover songs of Bush and bands like this and Stone Temple Pilots, and but they would be doing it just as good, if not better. And it's like wow. And then they play their own original songs, and so we'd be playing with them as much as we could. We really looked up to them, even though they were a lot younger than us. They were in high school at the time, but so yeah, when they were in Peterborough, and so when they'd come to Toronto and Markham, Ontario to play with us, they'd stay overnight with us, and then we'd come to Peterborough and we'd stay at their place here in Peterborough, and we'd swap each other's songs. We'd be like, "How do you play that song of yours?" And then they want to learn our songs, and yeah, they're fantastic guys, and they still are like really down to earth guys who still live in this area. And yeah, they're always messaging and dropping into open jams and stuff like that every once in a while. And
Oh
yeah,
my goodness.
yeah, yeah,
I,
yeah.
I I can't tell you how much I listen to I listened to so much of their songs as a kid. And now that I think about it, because at the time my friends and I thought, oh, they're pretty much the epitome of emo music. But looking back at it now, I would say they were more post grunge, weren't they? In
Yeah,
terms
they
of their
were. Yeah,
sound. Okay,
yeah, for
because
sure. Yeah, they used to cover Nirvana songs and things like that. That's what we
yeah,
used to listen to.
so that would make sense then, that they would be described as post grunge, just based on not only their lyrics but the sound. I mean, they kind of had the same vibe as Breaking Benjamin.
Yeah, yes, yep. And Stained and all those bands back in the
Yeah,
late 80s.
Stain, Tool, Creed.
Yep.
Those bands. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Holy shit. So you still you're still in touch with the guys from 3 Days Grace. Like, it's not like you kind of lost touch and then you kind of reconnected after a few years.
Yeah, yeah. It's really easy nowadays with Instagram and Facebook because we're still friends there, so we can always keep in touch through Messenger and stuff like that. So when I put
Okay.
out a new song or a new video, yeah, I send it right to them because they keep saying, keep it coming. So I send them my new songs, and then I get positive feedback all the time, right? And
Yeah,
sometimes it's
yeah.
like, oh yeah, that song reminds me of when we used to, this and that. It was like right on, yeah. So yeah, and I saw Neil, the drummer from 2 Days Great, fantastic guy, always giving back to the community and charity. Um, I saw him just a few months ago, probably 4 months ago, and yeah, we were driving by, and it's like, there's Neil, and hey, Neil, and he's like, Dan, he says, I've been listening to your EP on Spotify, and he says, man, it's fantastic stuff you're doing. Just keep it coming, man. I'm like, it's great to see you, and thanks a lot for the inspiration, and so that kind of keeps going, because when you hear from people, your peers like that you're doing really well, it really drives you to do more.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that in anything that you do. It's not just music, but I mean, just that
Yes.
one little encouragement can kind of give you the boost that you need. Um, so I definitely want to talk to you about your songwriting process because I remember back in the day, back when MTV and VH1 actually used to show music videos and documentaries and movies that actually had to do with music. There was a series called, I think it was called Classic Albums. Do you know
Yep.
what I'm talking about?
Yep, I do. Yep.
And what always fascinated me, was just was not the songs themselves, but the process of how they made the songs. So so obviously 20, or I can't believe I'm saying this now, but like 30 years ago,
Yep. Yep.
right?
Yep.
30 years ago, if you wanted to record a song, you actually had to book studio time, which costs a lot of money. You had to get the people who knew what how these machines worked, and you had to have everything down pat, because it seemed like every minute that you spent in the studio was costing you money.
Most
Did you
definitely.
did you ever have to go through any of that, or were you mostly just digital when it came to audio production?
We were mainly just do it ourselves. I mean, any musicians I worked with were fantastic musicians, and they usually had pretty good studio quality. But I did record in the studio once with a hip hop artist. Be Cool was his name. He's a Juno Award winner up in Canada here, just
Hmm.
before Drake. And I recorded with him in the studio. And yeah, he paid a lot of money for a big producer to record his music. I mean, it did win him a Juno, but at the same time, like, he's paying him lots of money by the hour. And I'd come in and I'd lay down a guitar track, and then the producer would be, I'm going out for a smoke, and then he'd come in and he'd sit and he'd talk for like a half an hour, and then he'd light up another smoke, and then he'd fiddle with something, and I'm like, man, be cool, bro. Like, like, how much are you paying this guy by the hour? We've been sitting here for 2 hours, and I've laid down like one guitar track. Like, it was kind of driving me crazy, so I never wanted to spend my money that way. But
Yeah.
um, but yeah, we're just lucky to be able to do it at home nowadays with such good
So
quality.
so with so with MacBook and other DAW software like Cakewalk, for instance, they've pretty much democratized the songwriting process to where anybody can do it.
Yep.
Can you walk me through what is your songwriting process like? How, like, walk me through of what it's like from conception all the way to the rough, if not final cut,
Oh,
because I'm
sure.
really interested in hearing about this.
Yeah. Every song is pretty much different. I mean, they're all on their own. But yeah, the way I usually write, I yeah, they're actually all different. Sometimes the idea of the lyrics come into my head first, and but normally I just sit down and play my guitar and find some nice chords that go together, and then just start humming a melody over top. And the beauty with phones nowadays is you have a recorder right there. Because back in the day, I could come up with a great chord progression and lyrics and melody, and I could write it all down that night. But then I get up in the morning and I have all the chords written down, and I have, but I can't remember how the melody goes. But now with my phone, I can just take it out and record myself and wake up in the morning, and I can just listen back the guitar that I'm playing and hum over top of it. And then once I get a melody, then I usually come up with the song idea, and I fill in the words to go over top of the melody. And but that's not set in stone that I write songs that way. Sometimes the melody comes first. One song I wrote last year was called "Musicians and UFOs," because I don't know if this is something that you believe in or not, but I always, the universe is so big. I figured there had to be something out there more than beyond us. And it was one Thanksgiving here in Canada. We came home from my parents' place. My family and I have two boys and a wife. And as soon as we got in the house, I looked out the window, and I saw this huge glowing orb ball coming towards our house, and it sat over top of our house. I ran outside, and it was flashing different colored lights, like maybe 200 feet above our house. Like this thing was massive, the size of
Are you serious?
I'm serious, the size of a large car. Like it was gigantic, and
Now,
it was silent.
sorry to interrupt. I'm sorry to
Yes.
interrupt. Okay, so
Yeah.
all right, so there's this, because now you've piqued my interest. So there's this giant orange light, and
It
you're
was
not,
bright. It
and
was
you're,
bright white when it was flying, and then as soon as it went stationary, it started flashing colors like red, green, blue, red, red, blue, red, and it was
and
just
you're not,
sitting over top of
you're
us.
not plastered or anything too. Like I'm assuming you've probably had a few, but you know
I,
you're still clear
I
minded.
had one beer over at my parents' place, but I've never like hallucinated after a beer.
Okay, you're
So
right.
no, and it was like right there, and then it blew bright white again, and then it zoomed off like the speed of light, took off straight into deep space, and I could watch it. It was a super clear night, and I was watching it, and it was like a star within seconds. And then another one came over the house, and
Oh, a
so that's when
second one.
yeah, so that's when I called my wife out because I was like, I don't know if I'm the only one seeing this. Like, am I hallucinating or what? Right. So I called
Yeah.
her out, and this thing was sitting like 200 feet doing the colors again, stationary over a house. And I said to my wife, "Do you see that?" And she's like, "Well, yeah, it's right there." And so we sat there and we watched it, and then it started getting white again after about a minute and a half. And I said, "Watch, it's going to take off." And then just like out of a slingshot, just boom, it was gone into deep space, like deep space. And then another one came, and so then my kids came out, and they were watching them, and they were waving at these things. It was incredible. There were six of them, one after another. And so I finally, and I didn't have my phone with me. I was thinking I should be taping this, but I
Oh,
didn't want to.
Dan, come on, man.
Hey, hang on, but I didn't want to go in because I was afraid it'd be gone, and I thought I'm just going to live in the moment. But they just kept coming. So by the fourth one, I thought, okay, well, I'm going to go in, and if they're gone, that's fine. So I ran in and I got my phone and I did videotape it. And so I videotaped when two of them came at once, and I thought I got to tape this. So I taped the two of them sitting over my house, flashing colors, and then the one took off, and the other one stayed stationary, and then the other one took off behind it. And so my son was watching, and he was like, they're communicating with each other because the one was flashing blue, red, green, and the other one flashed blue, red, green, then blue, blue, red, blue, red, blue. And
Yeah,
so
there's a
they
pattern.
were
Yeah.
copying each other. And so I did get a couple of them on videotape. And so it was shortly after that I thought I should probably write a song about this because I started looking more into the connection between musicians and UFOs. And it was like there's so many famous musicians who have had these experiences like I have, like all the way back from Elvis and Jimi Hendrix and John Lennon, saw some in New York, Stevie Nicks, and then right up to the modern area like Post Malone and I mean uh, Kendrick Lamar. There's so many. Nick Jonas, Camila Cabello. Just I saw her just on Jimmy Fallon. She was talking about how she had a video of one flying over top of her parents while she was shooting a video of them, and she showed it on a show. And so I thought, what's the connection with musicians and UFOs? Is it just their open mindedness, or I I didn't know. So I wrote a song about it anyways, and I made a video just and I did add some of the clips from my my experience in the video that you can find on YouTube. You might find it interesting, but that song came up totally lyrics and melody first. I was actually planting trees at work, and this melody just popped into my head, and it was front to back lyrics, chorus, everything in my head. And so I was sneaking away from my coworker. I was like, just hang on for a second. I just got to make a phone call, and I run over and hit record. And I'd say, "What's the story with musicians and UFOs?" And I'd be singing it into my phone so I don't forget it.
Yeah.
And so then, right after work, I just ran home extremely quickly to get this written. And then, as soon as I picked up the guitar, yeah, I just started playing kind of spacey kind of chords, and it just came together within minutes, pretty much. And so sometimes songs just come together like that. Like it's never a struggle for me to write songs. It's just almost like I'm an antenna, and they just kind of flow through me. If that doesn't sound too crazy,
No,
but
no, I totally get it where you're coming from there.
yeah,
So 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 I'm assuming so I'm assuming once you've once you have the entire song sort of assembled in your head, that's
yes,
when you kind of go into the whole production thing. It's kind of like with the filmmaking process where where you need a script first before you can actually go and film the actual
Yeah.
thing. So so when you're recording, are you playing like actual instruments, or are you just using, a MIDI controller to like play the different instruments, on your DAW?
Yeah,
Like, how does that work?
yeah, I use my own instruments. I do use a MIDI for drums usually. I do have a real drum kit, but it's a lot more difficult to mic up at times to get the good quality. And so I usually just use a MIDI drum kit, and it still gets a great feel for me. But all my instruments are me playing live. So I play electric, acoustic, and my bass and keyboards and whatever else I feel fits the song and the mood. So
S- So when you're laying your tracks down, like, do you normally start off with like guitar and then kind of graduate up to bass and then drums and then keyboards, or what does the layering process look like for you?
yeah, for myself, uh, I always write it on guitar first, usually acoustic, and then as soon as it's written, I can hear the rest of it in my head,
Hmm.
um, exactly the way it should be. And so then I usually, when I record, I put down the drum tracks first, because yeah, I know the way the drum beat should go, so I get that down first, and then I would lay down my guitar on top of that, and then bass, and then I leave the vocals till the end because that's usually my favorite part to play around with because that really rounds it out and finishes it off, and it's a lot of fun to play with the vocals at the end. So
And I'm assuming you're doing both the lead and the choral vocal parts.
yes, yep,
Oh,
yep, I do it all by myself. Yeah.
gotcha, gotcha. So, so once you've gone through that process, and you've got the cut that you're satisfied with, what happens after that?
Oh, then I usually say to my 15-year-old son, he's an art student here in Peterborough, and so he's a very good photographer, videographer.
Hmm.
So I say to him, like, because I grew up in that MTV Much Music age where you need a video to go along with the song. So nowadays we don't really have albums or CDs at all, and so I like artwork to go with my songs, like a visual thing. So I always like to make videos uh, to hit a wider audience too, and it's a lot of fun to make them and to also sit down and watch them, and people really dig them and say like the concept of the video with the song is fantastic. So I usually say to my son like, all right, let's make a video for this song, what should we do? And then we'll go out and around the town. I have one song, it's called Forever or Never, and it's a really beautiful video of my hometown Peterborough here. I said let's just go around because it's a really art filled town here, and we have a lot of beautiful murals all throughout the city. And so I said let's go and shoot all the murals in our town here with me playing guitar in front of it, walking in front of it, sitting in front of it, singing in front of it, and we'll just go from one to the other. And I thought we might have to expand and go outside of our city to get like the 4 minute song worth. But we went out and did the shoot in about an hour and a half on a beautiful sunny day. And we had more than enough video clips with all the murals in our town. Like people don't realize how much art there is in even your own town until you really start to look and appreciate it. And so we really enjoy making the videos. So once we do that, then we upload the videos to YouTube, and I upload my music onto Spotify and send it out and start lining up. I usually line up a live show whenever I have a new song coming out, and just start pushing it and getting it out there for everybody to hear and enjoy.
So, so when it comes to promoting your music, is it something that you're doing yourself, or do you have like a person who helps you out, or a dedicated team, or what?
It's just all self promotion. I do it all. I manage, I promote, I do it all myself. It's and podcasts and interviews and things like that. Yeah, it's all right through me, and it's a lot of fun though. I get a lot of pride out of it, and I really enjoy doing it. That's for sure. And then it just kind of comes back to you. I mean, like I got in touch with you guys, and or you got in touch with me. Like I've done quite a few interviews over the past couple months, and it's been great. And yeah, my hometown people get in touch with me. It some days or are incredibly good. Like we have a university here, Trent University. They get in contact with me. They want to do a singer-songwriter show live on air, and so we did that. And I used one of the songs from that live show on Spotify. That song is actually on the charts in Peterborough right now, From Two to Two. It's called. It's number 15, and it's a live take from one of these shows where they called me up and they wanted me to do a live on air on the radio show. And then it was like a week after that, the TV station in Peterborough wanted me to come in and do a half-hour concert live on their show. And then another TV show called me up and said they wanted me to do Christmas songs. So I actually wrote a Christmas song for them. And so it's just flowing and flowing. And then, yeah, just recently I got an invite to play our big showplace theater here in Peterborough. It holds maybe 6,000 or sorry, maybe 800 people. It's a large theater in Peterborough, but it's a big concert for me to play, and that one's coming up in the start of March, and it's to help the homeless in Peterborough here. It's for a donation and a cause, and so it's a really big part of our community here, and I've been asked to play it, and it's a real honor. So things have been flowing, yeah, just through promotion, but mainly all these things came from my videos, and so that's um, one word of advice I would give to any indie artist out there is make videos. Like I'm telling you, you can push your music as hard as you can on Spotify, but it's really hard. But if you can get eye-catching, positive videos, that's what has got me all these gigs and interviews and things like that. I've done a lot of podcasts because people have said, like my one song Armor Hill, it's about a place here in Peterborough, and so my son and I, we went up and we shot the video on Armor Hill, and that's how I got the TV show, that's how I got the showplace, that's how I got the Trent radio shows. Was everybody said we saw your video for Armor Hill, and it's beautiful, and we wanted to get in touch with you, and it went to number 4 on the charts here in Peterborough, and so um, but the video has been the main driving success. So
So just out of curiosity, when it comes to these videos, like, is there anything particular that about these videos that stand out, or is it just the fact that you're uploading these videos that kind of, they kind of get the word out about your music?
yeah, it's just yeah, they go along well with the music. They're very colorful. Just they mainly, like if you watch the ones like the musicians in UFOs, yeah, like I've had people saying like they love the concept. I was just going from town to town playing guitar, and you'll see me, and I put in clips of me in the studio as well, and as well as the UFO videos, and I just try to make it so it's something that you would want to watch more than once. Make it eye catching and just very appealing and very positive.
So, so I definitely do want to be respectful of your time, and I feel like I could talk to you for hours, but I do want to go ahead and just go ahead and bring this a close. But before we wrap up, Dan, if people want to, learn more about you or check out your work, where can they go? Because I think you might have mentioned it already, but just to reiterate.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Dan Hick, and you can find me on all my videos on YouTube. You can find musicians and UFOs there. You can find Armor Hill, and I think you'll enjoy them quite a bit. And also, my music is free to download, listen to anytime you want on Spotify. Dan Hick. I have quite a few up there, and I constantly writing new music. So please feel free to shoot me a line or a comment, and I feel free to write you back anytime. So yeah, feel free to communicate with me and check out my music and videos.
Excellent. So before we wrap up, I know we've chatted a lot about UFOs and music tonight, but as this is a movie podcast, we still want to, just squeeze in a little bit of movie chat here. Are there any movies or TV shows that you've seen recently that you feel like are is the best thing ever, and you want to just recommend to people?
Well, sure. For TV shows, I'd have to say.
Well, it could be either one. It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
both. So.
Well, sure. Yeah, but we do get a lot out of the TV shows. I mean, Schitt's Creek. It was filmed just a couple hours outside of Peterborough here, a small town called Goodwood,
Mhm.
and but Eugene and Catherine from SCTV, so we always loved them. And Dan is Eugene's son there. But Schitt's Creek
Yeah.
is a fantastically written show, and it just kept getting better and better every year. I think we're on maybe watching it our fifth or sixth time over now. So just everything about it was just incredible, and you never get sick of that show. So
I mean,
that's
I was gonna say, because Moira is the breakout star of the show, because you never think about it until you watch, and you're like, wow, like there's a lot going on with her that that you just can't look away,
most definitely.
I mean, especially when she's changing all those wigs and she's doing all these things. It's like, what are you doing, Moira? All right, I'm gonna see what's going on here.
Yeah, and then every time we watch it, we get new funny parts that we didn't notice the first time.
Yeah. Did you see this YouTube video of someone driving with I think it's either like a GPS or it's a Google Map thing, but the voice is Moira, and she's like telling people like which directions to go, but she's saying it the way that Moira says it, and the driver's like, "What the hell are you saying here, lady?"
What kind of accent is that anyway?
Yeah, it's like, no, go past this place where something is bumbulating, and you're like, what?
Fantastic.
But Dan, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to be on this podcast, and now you've piqued my interest with your fascinating UFO story. I definitely do want to chat with you some more about that. Are you just out of curiosity, are you a believer in this?
Yeah, I always was. I mean, like the universe is so vast, and it's hard to get a grip on just how big our galaxy is, let alone the universe. And so it's hard to believe that there wouldn't be more out there beyond us. But just to try to comprehend how anything would travel here, but I always imagined there would be. But when we saw it firsthand, it was like, it was kind of life changing. But it was a very positive experience. I just wanted to mention that too, because sometimes you hear people getting quite frightened of UFO sightings and it scares them quite a bit. But I don't know if it was something that I expected to see. I wasn't afraid at all. I mean, it was incredibly positive experience. I called my wife out and I called my kids out to see it. I mean, so there was absolutely no fright or nothing to be worried about at all. It was very positive feeling, the whole situation. So
yeah, because I mean, when people hear stories like that, the first thing they think of is fire in the sky, and and Travis Walton getting abducted and frozen and everything. So so to hear that, it's like, oh, okay, that's kind of different. Apparently not everybody gets abducted by aliens. So.
yeah, I think they're here for more good than bad, obviously. I mean, if they wanted to do anything bad, they could anytime they wanted, but I think it's more
excellent.
It's a more positive feel.
Excellent. Well, Dan, I definitely do want to have you back on, if nothing else, we could chat about that. But I just want to thank everybody for taking the time to watch this episode, and I just want to thank you all for subscribing and just checking out these videos and sharing them with everybody that because we're trying to do something different here. We're trying to expand our reach and chat with people who don't necessarily work in film, but they work in some aspect of the arts. But for the Movie Pope, I wish you all well. Have a great new year. And remember to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Bye.